Morning, everybody. Thanks for coming out the day before Thanksgiving. We appreciate you supporting our entrepreneur and our presenter today. So today we have Matt Shannon with Pill Call, who's going to tell you all about his invention, which is actually pretty cool. Come on up, Matt.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. As you heard earlier, my name is Matthew Shannon. I am an Albuquerque native. In fact, I was born in that building over there, St. Joseph's Hospital, now Loveless. And I have lived here most of my life. I have traveled around the country a few times to do a few other interesting projects. But my background is as an engineer. I went to New Mexico Tech and got a materials degree in '99 and Georgia Tech and got electrical engineering and computer engineering degree in 2002. I'm an expert in photovoltaics and solar cells, and I am also somebody who's been doing mobile apps for over 10 years. But those industries, they've kind of petered out, and this is the new hotness right here. So back during my days where I was in Silicon Valley commuting every single week for big Silicon Valley salaries and still paying nice low cost Albuquerque mortgage, I was working for Amazon at the time on a contract on a product that is not related to this. And I thought this was way cooler. So I decided to interview with that particular group at Amazon. While I was at Amazon, had to take a whole day off unpaid, said, hey, can I have an interview? And they said, yes. And they put me through 8 hours of battery. And at the end of the time, they're like, hey, that was very interesting. We're not going to hire you. And I said, okay, fine. I'm going to build my own one of these things. And what are these things? These are called a dash button. There's one right here. You can pass it around. Amazon came out with them about 10 years ago. It's the green thing, not the blue thing. But yes, that thing. Thank you. It is a appliance that you get for free from Amazon. And they have a little sticky on the back, and the idea is when you run out of laundry detergent or whatever, you push the button, and then 2 days later, automatically, a box of laundry detergent shows up on your doorstep, billed to your account. Amazon, for some reason, pulled these off the market after about a year, but they've got a lot of them out there, and they're kind of a neat appliance, and I thought, well, I'm kind of ticked off because I liked this product, I wanted to work on it, and Amazon doesn't want to hire me, so I'm going to go build my own. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, you know, Amazon, they've done this, they've tried this. What if I twisted it a little bit? What if instead of it doing something when you push the button, what if I made something that does something when you don't push the button? This appliance here, you are probably familiar with it. This appliance is responsible for deaths, thousands of deaths every year. It is a defective appliance. Your pharmacist could be risking your life every time they hand you one of these. They're very dangerous for a couple of reasons that we'll be getting into. But I thought, the cap is something that I could replace with this kind of dash button concept. So the idea here, let's see if I can juggle all these things. If you take your pill bottle here from your pharmacist and you take the cap they give you and you throw it away, you can use my cap that I have here, and it's got a whole little circuit inside it. And I can just kind of put this on here, and what do you know, this thing actually fits. That's kind of cool. So now you're no longer going to forget. It also has another function. We've all been there where, did I just take my pill? No one ever has an answer to that question. And the reason is, you know, this thing keeps no record of whether you already took your pill or not. And that is kind of by far the more dangerous aspect of this appliance. Because if you miss your pill and you need that pill to live, or at least, you know, not be in pain, you're going to hurt. But if you take too many, you're going to die. And that's a huge problem. I currently have 4 different sizes to fit most different pill bottles. We're going to be expanding into 3 more for another specialty line. They're all going to be shades of purple and pink. But the nice thing about this is you don't have to give up the bottle or the prescription that the pharmacist gives you. You just use the cap, and you get one cap, and as your bottle empties, you get a new bottle. You switch the cap on over. Inside it, I have a big old watch battery, essentially, and a little microchip that does the thinking, and a switch. And that switch is mechanically coupled to it. As you squeeze it closed, it turns it off. As you turn it open, it turns it on, and then it turns itself off again. Pretty interesting little circuit there. I'm currently getting them made in China. I plan on manufacturing them here in Albuquerque, everything except the chips. Come on. We have an app up at the App Store already. It does 3 things. You set your reminder times. It can be weekly, it can be daily, it can be hourly, whatever you want. It can also set up to 5 phone reminder numbers, which is really useful if you're taking care of somebody else. You know, a memory care facility is thousands upon thousands of dollars. And the leading reason old folks have to leave their forever home and get put into the home is the darn medication. It's not they can't drive. It's not that they're not safe. It's not that they can't shop or dress themselves. It's the medication. You will spend north of $1,500 a month, not for rent, room, board, any of that, just for the one person, the medication coordinator, to come on in and take care of your loved one's pills. $1,500 is a lot just for that. But what else are you going to do? I'll tell you what else you're going to do. So we have plastics also being manufactured in the US right now, but we will be spin casting them here in Albuquerque using a modified microwave oven and clothes washer that I'm modifying myself. Instead of making one with a 3D printer every hour, I'll be making 30 every 3 minutes using a modified clothes washer and a microwave. It's pretty cool. We already have the packaging going. We already have the design going. We will be shipping these here very, very soon. And I'm thrilled to be able to tell you guys about that. We are going to be using a never before seen form of financing for this business. It's not crowd vesting. It's not crowd funding. It is called crowd factoring. We will be factoring these with a factoring lender. So instead of a crowdfunding campaign where I go out there and I say, hey, give me your money and maybe you'll get this when I get around to it, I just ask you to say, give me your orders, no money up front. And as a result of that order, I'm able to take that and borrow against it from a factoring lender. So I take a pile of these purchase orders of people who say, yeah, I'll want one when you actually have them. And I can go up to that lender and say, hey, can I borrow against these to actually make them? And they say, yes, that's what we do. So you spend no money up front. Our customers spend no money up front, but I can borrow from a lender, and they are priced at $10, but they're $10 plus $10 a month, which means they're a $120 a year product. So it's a very high amount of value that I can borrow because it's eventually going to keep being billed monthly anyway to pay for it. So it's a pretty interesting approach. Now let's get a little darker here. This chart is a chart of opioid overdose deaths. Don't worry about the blue, don't worry about the yellow, but that green one that's kind of downtrending, those are prescription opioid deaths. A pharmacist put that in somebody's hand. A pharmacist should have had a bottle cap like mine. If they had, these deaths would be substantially less in number. If you look over on that y-axis right there, that's 7,000 or 8,000 people dying every year from not having these bottle caps on there to remind them, hey, you already opened that, or to remind somebody else, they already opened this, you better go check on them. That's an hour dead, gone. And these aren't like, they weren't going to die anyway. These are people leaving their parents behind. They're leaving their kids behind. It's a tremendous tragedy. And, you know, I really think that if I make a lot of money with this, that's great. But if I can prevent a death or two with this, you know, this is time well spent. This was Albuquerque in August this year. And this is a very powerful image. Albuquerque's finest come out. And I love this picture because it's a happy ending. This guy's going to make it. Somebody got word that he was overdosing. They were there with Narcan. They were there to pump his stomach. And that now he's going to go to work tomorrow, hopefully. He's not going to have to, you know, not be able to say goodbye to his whole family. And I think this should happen a lot more often. All those 24 people a day who are currently not getting this service, they need to be getting this service. And our city is capable of providing that. And I think it's a very important thing to be able to offer that. So I am not here to ask for money. I'm not here to ask for just, you know, business. But one of the things I'm trying to do with this process is start this crowd factoring process. It's never been done before. I'm going to stumble, I'm going to fall, and I'm going to make all kinds of different mistakes with it. But it is live, and it would mean a lot to me if the word could be gotten out and I could have some help and suggestions in terms of how to get that out to people. And I am thrilled that you all have been willing to hear me out on this, and I'm excited to answer great questions. Thank you.
Take this down. People online can see everything. I'll start the question and answer process. If anybody has a question, form a line over here. Don't forget to introduce yourself. And we'll also take questions online. My name is Lisa Adkins. I run Fat Pipe ABQ in the Bioscience Center. My question, Matt, we talked about this a little bit in coaching. By the way, you did a great job. It was obvious that you've had some practice. So I think all the pitch events that you do has really helped.
Thank you.
So great job. And if you ever want to give people here tips, they'd probably really appreciate it because some people are nervous to get up here. What about, so I have an idea. Have you ever thought about trying to give a presentation at retirement communities. My dad lives in a really nice one and might be a good place to talk to some people.
I would love to do that. I'd love to get that hooked up. My current situation is I'm a one-man army and I don't suffer for a lack of targets or audience. I just suffer for a lack of bandwidth. But I mean, the job of an entrepreneur is to ship and to sell. And I need to spend the time doing that now that I've got a design that works. So if you want to send me suggestions on, hey, how about this retirement community or all these sorts of things, I would love that. So my email is on the presentation. Don't be a stranger. Thank you.
Okay, so what about the people who take their weekly pills out of the bottle and put them in the Monday through Sunday? Yeah.
Pill minder.
Tell us how you do that or how you manage that.
Sure. So these things, they're good and they're not. So they really help you with the type 2 forgetting. Like, did I already take my pill? Well, is it currently in the little slot here? Well, yes, it is. I guess I didn't take it. So it really helps you with that. But the type 1 forgetting, where you're on the other side of the house, you're playing with your grandkids, whatever, they aren't really useful for that. They're very good on Tuesday at letting you know you missed Monday's pill. But these actually are a really good complement for pill call, because you can set these not to remind you to take the pill, but to remind you to fill it up. Because every Sunday night, what do? You fill it up for the week. And what do you do Monday morning? I forgot to fill it up and I missed my pill last night. So it's not, a panacea, but it does help with some of this thing's shortcomings. And 1/7 fewer, forgotten occasions. I think that's pretty useful. So $10 a month, can't beat it.
Come on.
All right.
Thanks.
Good morning, Matt. I'm
Good morning.
JP. I work a little bit in the wellness, do sound baths and remodeling. So it's kind of an interesting entrepreneurial course that I do. So I just got certified in IoT across the road there. Do you know Dr. Rashap and the folks?
I'm familiar with IoT, but I've never worked with Dr. Rashap and
Okay.
the folks over there. But this is what I'm really excited about, moving all this hardware manufacturing capacity back into Albuquerque, where, we made the first computers. Microsoft moved here because computers were being made here in Albuquerque. That's why they were set up here. And I'm really excited to be able to offer services, kind of toll services that use my plastics expertise in hardware and my PCB manufacturing expertise in hardware, because we got maker spaces all over town and they're outstanding. But if you don't have a way of making circuit boards or maybe making plastics in volume, in small volume, then, I'd like to be able to fill that gap for people.
So I'm getting into some technical things. What's your development cycle on? So these are working. You're past the prototype stage. Like this is a development product. How many iterations did you go through to get to where you are now in the development? I'm
on about number 48 in terms of circuit boards. In terms of plastics, it's probably lower, about maybe 15 or 16. I'm constantly improving it. I'm constantly noticing bugs in the improvements that made it kind of worse than when it started. So, intellectual property and everything, people are always like, do you have a patent? And part of my problem is I don't know how to make it yet. So if you patent it, you have to disclose how to make it. But as I'm continuing to evolve, that's definitely going to be part of our intellectual property approach. We have to do all kinds of very interesting things with the batteries, because the radio, everything was very, very simple to get right. I was very surprised at that. The battery has been very, very complicated to make it work decently. They would work great for a day or two, and then that radio just hammers on those batteries, and they're not really built to take more than a couple of those before they just, I can't do it anymore. So I've had to do a lot of redesigns just for battery and power management. Our next run, which is already on order, it's getting manufactured in China, is going to be, it's already been tested, it's already been protoboarded and everything. It works great. It lasts, the math says 6 years. I don't think it'll be that long. But since this is a subscription, I know how many times you've opened it, and I just ship you a new one when your battery's about to die. I don't even tell you it's about to die. So, solves that sort of problem. You always have the latest hardware as a result of that too, because these are great, but next year they're going to be even better, and might as well have everybody with the latest greatest.
Yeah, and I may suggest, and this is just kind of like an offshoot, is having a USB rechargeable system, because it'd be tied into your app. And so it could basically say, oh, you just plug in for, an hour a night to keep it recharged. I don't know, that's just a little idea I was thinking of, because
I get that suggestion a lot.
Okay.
The main problem is these customers and users can't even operate the pill bottle. So the lithium charger and all that stuff, I don't feel comfortable putting that in their hands, because there's lots of ways that even a very smart, intelligent with it person can mess it up. So what's great about this is the non-rechargeable batteries, they're cheaper and they hold more charge. So these will actually last longer. And, you know, it's good to keep things from developing contamination. You get bacteria, you get viruses. I mean, this is on bottle after bottle after bottle. It's better if you just get, you know, kind of a hermetically clean unit to replace your old unit, but still programmed to work.
Right, I mean, you could put one of these little jacks, you know.
And
yeah,
I've done
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but the issue is non-rechargeables hold the juice longer.
So last question is that, so IoT means Internet of Things. It's kind of like a current, it's not a new technology, but it's kind of like a technology acronym for like things that are tied into the cloud. And so what's really fascinating about this is that could that link to your pharmacist? And so that kind of like, you know, gives them an update of like, you know, like getting renewing the prescription.
In theory, absolutely. However, the calendar is usually a pretty good motivator for the pharmacist to check in on you. And what I'm really excited about this is a direct to consumer product. A lot of pill companies would love to push more pills on you. Hey, you didn't keep up with your pills. Why aren't you keeping up with your pills? Hey, switch to this pill, switch to this pill. Most people are just done with that. We don't want to deal with that. I just need a little bit of help so I don't forget my pill. So we don't know what's in the pill bottle. We don't want to know what's in the pill bottle, which means we can't sell what's in the pill bottle information to other people. And we can't have it hacked out of us because we don't know. And I think it's very important to have a company where the customer feels like they can trust us because they're putting their lives in our hands. And, you know, they should be the customer, not the product, like with Google and such.
What's a cool invention? Good
Thank
luck
you.
with it. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Morning.
Good morning.
Clifton Chadwick with Comunicaciones Coco Valley. Wanted to give you a suggestion. Have you checked with Duran Central Pharmacy, Central near Old Town? They're locally owned, independently operated, and they are a wonderful place to go shopping for locally produced gift items and the like. And I know their pharmacists are always a little concerned when I know how many pills I missed at the end of the month.
Mm-hmm.
They want to make sure I'm taking them on time. So I know they're aware of the urgency of the issue. And they're also then members of a group, I believe, still in existence called Regent Pharmacy. Are you familiar with them?
Yes.
So then that could be a manageable way to begin to ship and to help gain popularity by leveraging Albuquerqueans' interest in the Albuquerquean product and so forth. So that was one suggestion. And then another question then is, what do you think the shelf life is? So it's a $10 subscription. So I guess I don't really care because you'll send me the new one. But what is the anticipated life?
The latest math I did was 6 years, but it all depends on usage. And, you know, after 3 years after this thing, I haven't been doing accelerated aging testing, that kind of thing. I don't think it'll actually be 6 years in practice. But if I can get at least 6 months out of it, I think, you know, it'll make sense. In fact, I could replace one every month and still make money as a company. But the margins are really good even at 6 months. Thank you very much. And I'd love to reach out to Duran's. If anyone has an introduction they'd like to make, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, Miriam Ortiz-Pino with More Than Organized. First, a point of clarification, it's $10 per lid and then $10 a month for all of your things, or is it $10 each lid?
So I get this question a lot and the answer has changed over the years, but essentially it's $10 for the first one and $5 for each additional. If you have one pill bottle you need this for, this is ideal. If you've got 12 pill bottles and you're trying to keep them all straight and you're feeding this one and that one, the lids interchange between them, it's going to be a big mess. And I'm not actually going to be providing much value if you're in that sort of situation. So if you've got one or two or whatever, we can work with you, but I kind of discourage people from, you know, buying 100 of them and trying to make them all work with their stuff. Thanks.
That might be an issue because most people are on, I mean, I'm very healthy and I'm on 2 different prescriptions already. And I just came from my parents' house and they're on like 10 each. And so that's an issue. So my second question was, might be moot now, but it was, is there part of the app that has their meds list and their frequency? And also along those lines, some meds they have to take regularly and some are as needed. And how do you deal with that?
Sure. So lots of questions here. I let people name their pills, but I don't want to know what their pills are for the previously discussed reasons. And generally, if you have 12 different pill bottles, you're going to be following a schedule. So you don't need to buy 12 caps. You can buy one cap. You're going to remember all of them, or you're going to remember none of them. In terms of as needed, that's an interesting case because if you have, an opioid that you only need to take as needed, but if you take too many in a short period of time, that's really a case I hadn't considered. So I appreciate you bringing that up. We'll definitely set up a thing where we have an as needed schedule. So there's no reminder, hey, you forgot this, but hey, you just took this 2 hours ago. It must be really as needed, but maybe think twice about that sort of thing. So I appreciate the suggestion. I knew I'd get something great out of coming here. So thank you very much, Ms. Thank you.
Hi, Paul Sutter with Equiseek. So thanks very much for the presentation. It's been a pleasure watching this develop over the years, and I love that things are as far along as they are. So having survived a couple of accelerators, I want to ask about customer discovery. So have you done any field trials where, again, you don't ask people what they're taking, you just say, is this better using this device or not using this device? Because I think that's the kind of thing that outside investors might be interested in.
Absolutely. So I used to drive Uber and Lyft just to keep the bills paid. And I subjected my riders, not all of them, but most of them, to a pitch session. So I was able to polish my pitch. I was able to get their objections. I was able to figure a lot of things out. I have a couple of different distinct sales problems because one of my sales problems is talking to retailers. Retailers don't care about certain things that customers care about, but they really care about other things that customers may not really be thinking about. I went to one compounding pharmacy after meeting them in my Uber, and as a result, they said, oh, we use our own different kinds of bottles. So I have a purple, pink, and magenta set to fit their different kind of bottles that they can sell in their sort of location. But I would have never had a clue if I hadn't started going out to places. And I'm going to discover more and more little, gotchas here and there with the sort of things that I'd be looking at. But, I have a pretty open schedule, and I'd love if people want to just come up to me and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or why don't you try this? Or, hey, let me introduce you to this sort of thing. I think it would be huge. I want to get these out there so we keep more people out of the cemetery. So every day I don't get that done, it's a tragedy. So all of the help I'm getting here is just great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Dawson with Purple Mulch. And I have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, and you may have answered this, but I didn't quite get it. The ethics of who has access to my information if I'm using one of these caps.
Mm-hmm.
Who has access to that?
Well, we try not to have any access to that. The only information that we have of yours is your credit card information for the billing purposes and your Wi-Fi password, because when we send you a new one, you don't want to have to reprogram it again. You already programmed the old one. Why not just make it a drop-in replacement? In terms of, are they opioids? Are they hormones? Are they birth control pills? Are they stolen pills? Are they grandma's pills that it's their prescription, but I really feel like I need them, that kind of thing. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to sell you something that keeps you from dying or hurting yourself.
And it's not so much what do you know, it's like what's being put out there in the world that anybody can get a hold of. Is that data like in the cloud somewhere that somebody can get it, or it's just the ethics of privacy?
Absolutely. So the credit card information, I don't have your full credit card. That goes through Stripe or a different payment gateway. They give me a token that I can just bill it every month. So if that information leaks, it's because the biggest payment processor has a really serious problem, and I'm not the only entrance to that. The rest of the stuff, what's in your pill bottle? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I just want to help you not forget it.
Because the question came up, maybe even the pharmacist would say, hey, you're getting low, or hey, you haven't taken her. So I'm wondering, does the pharmacist also have information because I have this cap?
By choice, we choose not to share that with the pharmacist.
Okay.
Eventually, we might start branching out. You might be able to opt into stuff. I know Apple on their iPhone has a health kit app where they start tracking, have you been taking your pills and everything? But I think we're seeing a bit in the zeitgeist right now where people are tired of being managed. They're tired of being the product. They're tired of being manipulated for profit. And if that helps them, then they can opt into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Please keep all that private.
Will do. Thank you.
Come on up.
Hi, how's it going? My name's Josh. You mentioned the crowd factor, and I've never heard of that before. How did you find that resource, and how does it work with, as customer bases get bigger? Like how many orders do you have to get before they fund a new round of manufacturing?
Thanks for bringing that up. To my knowledge, this is the first crowd factoring campaign ever, period. So I came up with it because I had a problem. I didn't have a lot of customers who were willing to put in money. I tried Kickstarter and Indiegogo. I hate to use this word, they're trash in terms of intake for new companies. I think they've just gotten fat, dumb, and happy. And the ones that are already strong and are successful are enough for them. And they don't really care about the one struggling, the little guy like me. With WeFunder, it's a similar problem where they share, micro equities where they sell stock in the company if you can get enough people. But I was able to figure out, factoring is a hardware problem. If I had a software package, it wouldn't cost me anything to ship a bunch of it, at least not in the modern age. But hardware, it's got a long lead time. I got to get suppliers and I got to get them to give me the parts that I am turning around to sell to people. Factoring has been around a very, very long time. And it occurred to me, if the ask I give people isn't, hey, can you give me, $200 up front and you get all this swag? Instead say, hey, just give me an order. Then I can, as long as it's a straight face order, you're not ordering 1 million of them for Mickey Mouse kind of thing. If I can just take that paper and go to a factoring lender, then I can avoid doing the other kinds of fundraising, which are kind of a pain in the neck for the customer too.
Can you explain how the terms work? So if you're selling a $10 product, are you borrowing? Yeah, what's that?
Well, they say $10 on the package, but they're subscriptions. So it's like a cell phone. And so these are actually worth $120 to the company after a 1-year period. So I'm able to represent this, not dishonestly, represent this to the lender that this is a $120 order, even though you're only paying $10 up front. And sure, there's a chance you'll put this on your pill bottle and like after a month, you're like, yeah, this isn't really something for me. Chances are much better that you're going to get hooked on it and you're going to just tell all your friends to keep buying more of them. So, I might get $300, $400 of revenue out of a single, $4 to manufacture pill cap, that sort of way. So I'm upfront with the lenders about this, and there are a bunch of them that are doing it. And I'm already working with one. Say if they call me every month, they're like, "Do you have any purchase orders you want to borrow against yet?" And I say, "Not yet, but it's coming. It's coming." So I think it's finally going to happen here in the next month.
Interesting. That's a cool strategy. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good morning, Matt.
Good morning.
Great presentation.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Norm with Brain Health with Dr. Norm. I'm in the dementia prevention business. I don't do anything with pills. I just do education. Interesting question that I have for you is the price that you got there and the fact that something being made in China. There's one word that pops into my mind, and that is tariff. It seems like you're going to have a challenge with getting that priced out that way when these tariffs take place, because you're making stuff in China. So have you thought about that, and what's your response to that?
Yes, this has been foremost on my mind long before any of these other problems, because all the prototyping services that are any good, if you're in this business, they're all in China. Like in America, I thought we invented customer service, but the companies in the business of making custom little circuit board runs, they require a week for them to tell me if they can do it and how much it'll be. In China, it's a JavaScript. They get back to me in 24 hours, exactly what it's going to cost me. And they get it to me, and it takes a little longer than they like, because they manufacture it over the course of about 3 weeks. And they got to wait like 4 extra days for it to come over on a cargo jet from Shenzhen. And that's why we are planning on this being our last run with China. Not necessarily because of the tariffs, so that's important too. We have chips and we have concerns and stuff, but some of the chips come from the US, some from Taiwan, some from Mexico, all different places. But if we're manufacturing the whole boards and board assemblies here in Albuquerque, that's not a problem anymore. And that's also a jobs source. And I'm really eager to find somebody who wants there to be more jobs, manufacturing jobs in the area, and can actually hook me up with some resources to maybe help make that happen. I know JTIP and all these things are out there, that's great, but something a little bit more like, here's some walking around money, go nuts, hire some people, train them up your way. I think that would be really helpful to the community as well as my company.
Yeah, I'm glad you put some thought into that, because it would be great to have manufacturing here in Albuquerque.
That is the plan here. Everything but the chips.
Super. Thank you.
Thank you. Round 2. All right.
I panic. So factoring, now I kind of understand it. Is this similar to accounts receivable lending?
Yes, it's very similar to that. Yeah.
You should explain a little bit about that, because I think that's a tool that a lot of people might find useful.
Absolutely. I'm meeting with the CEO of Gills, who presented Josh Kavaver here a couple weeks ago about this same sort of thing. And I think it's very useful because if you don't have to borrow against just your word and you don't have to use credit cards, what?
How does it work?
Oh, how does it work? So I'm a company and I sell stuff and I take orders. And instead of me getting paid right away, I have to wait for these people to cut me an invoice or a check. Net 30, net 60, net 90 days sometimes. So I have to get this product out the door, but I don't have any money to make it with yet. So there are companies, there are lenders who say, okay, well, what do you have to put up for collateral? Well, the orders themselves, they're gonna pay me. The federal government is one of the biggest situations like this. Like Sandia Lab Federal Credit Union, they're essentially a lender against the accounts receivable of you getting the check from Sandia. So you actually get your direct deposit in advance of when you would actually get the paper check cut. So they float over that same sort of period. So financial pictures for business, they're not sexy to talk about, but they're very important to contend with. And I think this could really help out a lot of hardware in particular companies where they have a design, they want to get it out on the market, and they don't have the money to make it. And if all it takes is just a bunch of people saying, yeah, I'll take one, I'll take 10, you know? One other really cool thing about this sort of thing is if someone gets in on my queue and says, yeah, I'll order 100 of them, because I'm gonna scalp them, I'm gonna sell them when they finally get in, because I'll be at the top of the queue and you're still 3 or 6 months behind. I can put these on eBay for 50 or $100 and people will buy them because you're obviously marketing this to people. And I don't begrudge people that, because that enables me to get the product manufactured and out there that much faster. So I think at the end of the day, what's really important for me, when I get people walking up to me a lot and they say, hey, you're going to do really well with this. And that's great. But what's important to me is I really want to do good with this. Thanks.
How much of a cut does the lending company take from your receivables?
They didn't give me a hard and fast number, but it's pretty small. It's like low double digits, like 10, 12%. And it's an interest rate. So if I deliver this stuff in a month, I mean, we're not talking much money at all. What's funny about the financing of this particular product is a cap cost me $4 to make and the server hosting costs are almost zero. And yet I'll be making 100 something. So it's like a 98% profit margin on these particular products, you know, shy of overhead, which isn't very much either. So I think it'll be a good going concern if we can just get past these growing pains.
Love it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, maybe you're gonna help some other entrepreneurs. in
I really wanna
Hawaii
do
with
that.
this idea of crowd factoring. And I'm glad that you're talking to Josh because he told us his story just a couple weeks ago. And
He's got a great product and our plastics, I think, could also be a big help for him.
awesome. So 2 more final questions.
Okay.
The first is red or green?
I have a stomach issue. I will order green unless the person across from me is ordering green and I'll order red to hand to them.
Nice. Let's go to lunch. And then what's the one thing this community can do for you today?
Get the word out that I'm crowd factoring. I am thrilled to be able to get this out in the market, but you know, I want to have fewer funerals, you know, for young people who had their whole lives ahead of them because of a defective medical appliance. So that would help me a lot and it would help the community too. So that's something I could really use the help with, is getting the word out. Pillcall.com. It's currently set up. It's taking orders. It went active today. And this is the first crowd factoring campaign. You guys are here making history with me. And I hope it goes far.